All right, it's time for the Krug Show. The Pig in a Pickle Krug Show begins on a Thursday night. Dieter Kurtenbach in the house. Niners on the road, headed out to Tampa. The bye week is over. CMC is going to play. Did the Niners do enough at the trade deadline? We're going to get into all of it right now. All right, welcome to the Krug Show. I kind of felt like, I'm getting, doing these teases. I feel like it's, kind of like when I used to watch Batman as a kid.
Yeah.
Will the Joker take over Gotham City? Is the Penguin going to wreck the world?
Yeah. Can we get Kev to put in some bangs and pows whenever we make a good point? Hot take.
Pow, pop, wow.
The old Batman actually kicked ass. I don't know what channel that was on when I was a kid, but like that was always on at like 3:00 when you were home. Maybe mom and dad weren't home yet. You're on the kitchen TV. You're flipping around like channel 26, the U in Chicago. Just nothing but reruns. Right before the Everyone Loves Raymond reruns kick on, they got old Batman. Nostalgia, man. It's all we got.
Oh, so there's some good stuff. Good stuff in old 70s TV. We used to have a thing locally on Channel 2 called it was like an after school thing. They played like cartoons and shows like Batman and Lost in Space, and then they would have a guy, James Gabbard, or one of the guys, I forget exactly who the guy was, but he'd be back in the studio, and they had this thing called TV Pow. Have you ever heard of TV Pow?
No, I haven't.
So basically, it would just be a graphic going across the screen on like whatever TV delay there is, and then the people at home would go pow, 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 and every time you would go pow, it would shoot like something across the screen, except it was on delay. So, people who tried to time it, like the people who won would go, machine gun like pow, 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 pow.
That's so bizarre. I've never heard of anything like that.
TV Pow? Never heard of TV Pow?
No.
And like it was like playing video games on TV from a phone line with 7-second delay, and people were trying to time it, and it was hilarious. I mean, you'd have the people on there, and you'd be like, somebody would be like, pow, pow.
That's so weird.
Pow. Pow. And then they'd be like, you shot nothing. You hit nothing. You give no points. You don't win anything.
The world's stupidest game of Duck Hunt, just voice and delay. That's so bizarre.
It was epic. My sister and I used to watch it as kids.
I got to check that out on YouTube. I'm sure it's up there.
This live stream is sponsored by Pig in a Pickle. Check them out in Memoryville, Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. And we were just there last Sunday. Great food, amazing food. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. They made an amazing chicken pot pie.
Don't tempt me with the good time, Lair. Come on now.
Dude, the chicken pot pie, seriously, it's amazing. It had this unbelievable barbecue chicken, and then it had, a little bit of carrot, a little bit of mushroom, a little bit of celery, a little bit of onion. Great, these great little, these like little bread, I don't know what they were. Now, almost like little,
not a crouton,
like a crouton, but soft. What's a soft crouton? Kind of like a little
soggy crouton bread.
Yeah, is sitting in this. I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah,
with
just
like
soaking it all up.
It's like a little bread thing with rosemary on it. Oh, it's just amazing. Absolute amazing chicken pot pie. So we had that Sunday night.
I'm definitely not hungry at all, and that isn't going to ruin the show for me in the least bit.
The chicken pot pie is amazing. Yeah, and this live stream is also sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. We didn't win last week. We almost won, but we didn't. Thank you, Jared Goff. But use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. We're going to try again later on today or tonight. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does is automatically entered to win a free signed Fred Warner jersey. And we'll announce the winner at the end of November. Here is the jersey.
Oh, Larry just has it in his garage.
I just got it. It just came.
Wow.
the 54, and you can't see this side's not autographed.
Right.
But it is autographed. We checked it out. So it's autographed by Fred Warner.
Certificate of authenticity in there, Lair?
I don't know if we have the certificate of authenticity, but we definitely have it autographed, and it was definitely autographed by Fred Warner. So everybody who signs up, download the app below, make sure you use the promo code Niners, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $200, and you'll automatically be in the running for that signed Fred Warner Niner jersey in red. So check that out. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes as the Niners are getting ready to head to Tampa on Friday. And then they're going to play on Sunday morning in the morning window. And Dieter, it reminds me an awful lot of last year coming out of the bye.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of the bye, Niners got Chase Young and, significant new addition, and they went out on the road, morning window, Florida team that had played some pretty good football.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were claiming the wrong team was favored. Niners were a 3-point favorite, and they just absolutely dominated the Jaguars. And those two teams probably really pivoted from that point on. The Niners had a great rest of their year, and the Jaguars sunk like a stone.
Yep.
And now you've got a similar situation. Niners off the bye, Buccaneers off the short week. They just played 83 snaps and were on the field for over 40 minutes against Kansas City. They went a game that went overtime on Monday. Then they flew home. Probably didn't even get a look at the Niners until Wednesday, which is, obviously yesterday. So, the Niners have a major, major, major advantage this week.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like a Niner route is coming. Christian McCaffrey's coming back. 49ers are rested, catching their breath, setting their sights high. This is definitely one of their more winnable games in the second half of the year. I think they're going to get this one. I think they're going to win and cover. What do you think?
They're 6-point favorites on the road, so that would be a significant cover.
Road favorites are killing this year, by the way.
Well, favorites in general are killing, Larry. I think every week, like one or two of them loses. Everybody else is just rolling right along. I share your optimism generally, but the way that I break it down is a little more. I think that both offenses have a chance to really put up some points in this game. I know that a lot of people look at Tampa Bay's offense and say, oh, well, without Evans and without Godwin, they're going to have some problems. They've kind of trucked right along. It's not as good because you don't have elite level players, but they have some pretty damn good wide receivers still. Cade Otton has really taken his game up a notch. Their tight end, he's a damn good receiving tight end. And they have 3 quality running backs on that roster right now, with White as the pass catching back. And then you're dealing with what's his name? The kid out of Oregon. And then obviously Bucky Irving. I want to say Bucky Brooks, but he is an NFL analyst. So that would have been woefully incorrect. And then Keyshawn Vaughn. So they have the ability, and Baker's playing out of his gourd. Now he's still a gunslinger. He's still going to give you a couple of opportunities, but he can put points on you in a hurry if you let him. And I'm just very curious to see how the 49ers defense handles Tampa Bay's offense, because I do think that the Niners are going to be able to put up points against this Tampa defense. They blitz a lot. That has always been a little bit tricky for the Niners, but this is not a very talented Tampa team outside of Vita Vea up the middle. And I don't see reasons to think that Brock Purdy and even Christian McCaffrey free run game, which I expect them to have Christian McCaffrey, but who knows what his workload's going to actually be. I feel like they should be able to put 30, 35 on the board. The question is, can they hold Tampa under that number? And I guess in your case, can they hold them to a 6-point margin? I think they can. I think that's the most probabilistic outcome, but I'm not totally sure. I think this could be a shootout and makes it a really interesting game for the neutral party, and probably a lot of heartburn for 49ers fans looking to get off to a right start here in the second half.
We titled the stream Latest 49er News. Christian McCaffrey is going to play. Shanahan stopped by with Tolbert and Copeland on KNBR earlier today, and they talked Christian McCaffrey. Here's what Kyle had to say on KNBR earlier.
I won't ask you if McCaffrey's going to play because I know you're not going to. You already tried to answer that one, or you didn't. But I'll ask you this: do you feel good right now? Do you feel one way or the other, like if he's going to play, or is this truly going to be something you're going to have to wait till game time?
I do feel good one way or another.
Okay.
It's been 2 good days, and I mean, I'm not trying to. I mean, I'm just kind of messing around, but I mean, he's been awesome these last 2 days. So hopefully that continues to go well, and expect to get him out there. And you never know for a setback or anything, but these 2 days have been great, and expect to see him out there.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's his regular radio hit with Tolbert and Copeland on KMBR. For those who are saying, why do I know that face? Why do I know that face? Why do I know that name? Yeah, Tom Tolbert, former Golden State Warrior with Adam Copeland there on KMBR, who the station that both Dieter and I also happen to work for.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
On occasion. Yeah.
When they need us.
It makes sense.
What do you think? Is CMC? I'm getting, everybody's got a different vibe on this thing. Some people think that CMC is going to get a huge lion's share. I had Cam Inman on earlier in the week, and he's like, if he's back and he's healthy, he should get 75% of the touches. I'm like, whoa, that's way too high for me. I don't want to see that kind of a split. What do you think of the news that he's going to play? Obviously Shanahan couldn't hold his glee there. He's obviously looked good in practice. I saw him running around. He's obviously in great shape and he's fresh.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen him at 100, what I would call game speed, 100% cutting and that kind of thing, but he's still Christian McCaffrey and he's still an explosive athlete. I don't know what really I'm looking for other than he doesn't look like he's in pain. But I haven't really seen him really plant his foot in the ground and drive, which is the job that's his job. So I don't know how he's going to fare, to be honest.
No one does. Christian McCaffrey doesn't. I mean, no one knows. Let's be real about why Christian McCaffrey is playing now. It's a conservative bet. It's just this is halfway through the season, and they can only rest it so long. And this felt like a good point of demarcation. And so we ride from here because the issue isn't that the calf is still tight. The issue is that he has tendonitis in both Achilles. And if that calf tightens up in a fight or flight response, I know I've brought this up a million times over, so I won't repeat myself ad nauseum, but suffice it to say, they don't trust those Achilles at all. But at a certain point, you have to play football. You can't live in fear. So bye week is right in the middle of the season. You go, okay, this will be half a season's worth of rest. Maybe that gets us where we need to go. Maybe it doesn't. No one has said anything to convince me that Christian McCaffrey is less likely to have a catastrophic injury today as opposed to weeks ago. But the 49ers and McCaffrey's camp seem to think that this was an adequate amount of rest. And we'll find out. We'll find out once he takes the field. I think I'm with Cam in that if he's healthy, you play him. I do think there are ways that you can effectively manage his workload, but I would expect him to be the first and second and third down back and then maybe get full series off as opposed to mixing up here's some Garendo and here's some Mason. And then on third down, here comes Christian McCaffrey as sort of an X factor player. So I would expect there still to be a rotation, and perhaps it's a 3-man rotation because Garendo really was coming along and really did give this team some pop. But I think if it's McCaffrey, you can't say no to Christian McCaffrey on the field. And the idea that you can manage the workload as to prevent, it's kind of an all or nothing, very binary situation, at least to my understanding with this injury. And the fear is that it is all or nothing. So you're getting all the great Christian McCaffrey and then one cut and it's all over, not just for this season, but perhaps for his career, at least as we've known him so far. So that's the risk the Niners are taking. That's the risk McCaffrey's taken. And again, we just don't know until he's out there on the field. And I think for everybody's sake, we hope that all that rest really did something. But no one's told that to me to this point, and I don't think anyone can earnestly say it to this point. So we'll find out, but scary times ahead. I think that there's going to be a lot of sweaty palms watching this game as Christian McCaffrey runs and runs and runs, because I don't think Kyle's going to hold him back that much.
Oh, come on, man. You better hold him back. I mean,
what would it matter?
What does it matter? I mean, this is your vintage Bentley that's been driven like once a year, let's say, for the last 10 years. And now you're going to try to take it cross country and maybe even a little off-roading. And it's like, I don't know, man.
He had 400 touches last year. It was your daily driver, and you had a 40-mile commute every day last year. So the idea that now it's this precious commodity feels a bit too late for that.
I know. None of it. First of all, there is no rhyme or reason to any of these things. It's not like, like he could go blow it out tomorrow on the first play at practice, or 100%. He could not blow it out all year.
Yeah.
But, the options are this. He gets through the rest of the year 100% healthy.
Yep.
He blows out one Achilles.
Jesus. Yeah.
He blows out both Achilles. That's it. Those are the options.
I mean, if he blows out one, his career as an elite player in this league is over. I'm sorry.
If you were wagering, what would you wager on? Those are the options. He's either never going to blow out either Achilles and get through the rest of his career, or he's going to blow one out, or he's going to blow two out. Those are the options. If I was wagering, I'd say the safe money is with one Achilles.
Yes, that's where the safe money is, and I would argue maybe two Achilles blowouts is more likely than no Achilles blowouts. So
right.
Not a very fun game to gamble with, and that's why the 49ers have pushed this thing as far as they can push it within reason, right? Like it wasn't as if they said, "Oh, well, you give him exactly 9 weeks of rest and everything will be A-okay." This dude's been resting since the start of training camp. They thought he was going to play in week 1. So all this rest is artificial. I mean, so is whatever is coursing through his veins around his Achilles with the Regeneron that he got in Germany and all that. But like, none of this is based in anything other than hope and prayer. And, that can get you pretty far sometimes. Don't get me wrong. And I think that the 49ers' hope and prayer is that rest did help, and that Christian McCaffrey did get this thing right, and that the kinetic chain is strong. And anything bad that would happen will be down the line. You just keep kicking the can down the road. And I have a very hard time covering as much NBA as I have over the last decade, feeling comfortable with the concept of Achilles tendonitis and calf injuries. I saw Kevin Durant's calf muscle run right up the back of his leg. I saw what happened with Klay Thompson. I mean, the Klay Thompson thing, right? You go back-to-back years with injuries. He tears his Achilles, and then he's coming back from that, but he's overcompensating. And much like Kobe Bryant before him, well, now the opposite knee, which has been overcompensating, now that gets injured. And it's just a very, very dangerous ball game. There are NFL running backs, Cam Akers being a good example, who have come back from an Achilles injury and still provide some value, but you're just not going to have the explosion. You're not going to have the burst. And this is something that, you have to bring up with the 49ers, because the same thing applies to Dre Greenlaw at weak side linebacker. I think a lot of folks going into the second half of the season are saying, well, if you get Dre Greenlaw back, that changes everything. And maybe it does, because Dre Greenlaw is a great player and fun as hell to watch and brings a lot of juice. Are you getting that Dre Greenlaw after an Achilles injury? I got to see it before I believe it. And I think that ultimately that's not where the Niners are at with McCaffrey, because nothing has ruptured yet. But the fear that any cut could rupture it has guided them through this process so far. And at a certain point, you just got to, hope that the lucky rabbit's foot does have some value, rub it, and go out on the field and see what happens.
Yeah. Now, Brock Purdy addressed this today, talking a little bit about Christian, and I was pretty encouraged by this soundbite. Here's Purdy today at the podium.
What's it been like just having Christian back on the field this week?
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. Just what he brings to the table, and really just firing everybody else up around. All of us coming off the bye week and feeling good and fresh, and then you get 2-3 next to you in the backfield. It's been awesome. Looks great, moving around, and he's trending in the right direction. So we're excited to see what happens.
Yeah. So there's a lot of anticipation, and it's funny though. See what happens is almost kind of an ominous way to put it, because it almost sounds like, what happens? What do you mean? He's going to come back. He's going to play, but we're all kind of waiting. Without trying to be morbid about it, it's like we're all kind of waiting for this major thing to happen. By the way, if you're asking, do you have some kind of, can you give me some information on the value of Christian McCaffrey without just kind of talking about him in the abstract?
Right.
The Niners have played 19 games with McCaffrey, and with
haven't
him,
lost many.
They're 14-5, and they've averaged 29 points a game, and their touchdown percentage in the red zone is 67%. And then they've played 8 games without him, and they're 4-4.
Yeah,
and their 29 points a game drops to 26.3 a game. But the real jump is in the red zone touchdown percentage. It drops from 67% with him to 49% without him. So they're not nearly as good without him in the red zone.
Makes perfect sense, though, right? You think about man-to-man defenses, right? Well, the red zone, you can play zone or man-to-man. It doesn't matter. It all looks like man-to-man because there's just not that much ground to cover. So there's just more traffic, it forces offenses to have more efficient route runners, guys who can make dudes miss in short areas of space, especially as pass catchers. This is why they got Christian McCaffrey in the first place. The 49ers offense wants to throw against zone. How do you ensure that the other team plays zone against you? Have a guy like Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. You want to go man-to-man against Christian McCaffrey? Good luck with that. Have fun. Put a linebacker on Christian McCaffrey. See how that goes for you. And ultimately, every team is like, you know what? We'll all just keep an eye on Christian McCaffrey. And meanwhile, there's Deebo Samuel going behind the linebackers and Brock Purdy nicely layering it in over. Oh, and there goes Brandon Ayuk on the deep post. And oh, here comes Ricky Pearsall on a drag route. Like, all of these things work because they want to pass against zone defense, and they can't force anybody to play zone defense against them, especially on passing downs this year, because as great as Jordan Mason has been, and I don't use that term lightly, he has been a great running back for them. He does not force the defense to change their personnel, much less change their tactics against them. They can play press man-to-man. Even bad press man-to-man teams are playing press man-to-man against the 49ers, stealing the Kansas City Chiefs playbook from the Super Bowl, stealing it from the 2022 game that they came to Levi's Stadium and beat them. That is the game plan that every defense has been playing, save for Minnesota, which has a totally different thing they got going on. And it's worked. It's worked. I mean, the 49ers only beat the Cowboys 30-24, and the Cowboys suck. So the idea that now Christian McCaffrey is back in there, that just forces honesty, and it forces teams to play zone against you. And if you do that against the 49ers, you are going to get cooked. So I think Brock's pretty excited because he doesn't have guys who can win in man-to-man on the outside. And now suddenly he's not getting man-to-man on the outside anymore.
Well, and McCaffrey represents the ultimate safety valve. Mm-hmm. But I think one thing that Shanahan's going to have to account for is that, and you can't give Christian the ball as much as you have. I mean, he was on pace for just 400 touches early last year.
Yeah.
You just got to understand that if you're going to use him in the passing game as, your safety valve, then you can't call his number as much.
Right.
Because that means he's just touching the ball at such a high clip. And
you might want to get those touches in though, Larry, before it all goes to hell.
Well, or just, usually the check down's open.
Yeah.
Usually. So, it's like if Brock wants to, Brock likes to drive the ball down the field. He doesn't want to go to the check down, but if you have Christian, maybe he will. He will.
And it will be nice, too, because Brock has been a wonderful scrambler this year, but that's been a vital part of the 49ers offense. Now it's just this little thing that he can do if everything truly does go to hell. Not having a check down. I mean, you saw this season how even having Isaac Guerrero, a guy who didn't know what he was doing for the first several weeks of the season, just having him out there as a possible pass catcher opened up the 49ers offense. I think about the Seattle game in particular. It opened it up. It made Brock more comfortable. It gave him just another option. And let's not forget, it's not as if they thought going into the season that Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to play. They built the offense around Christian McCaffrey again. So Jordan Mason, who, again, wonderful running back, and did great things for the 49ers in the first half of this season. He can't run the Christian McCaffrey playbook. He's not that kind of player. And yet that's what the 49ers, even though Christian McCaffrey wasn't practicing, installed this past offseason and in training camp. So again, just having somebody who can actually do the things that Kyle Shanahan wants them to do out of the backfield, be that Guerendo, who is clearly not Christian McCaffrey, or the actual Christian McCaffrey, does give Brock, the full complement of the offense, which frankly, when it's 24 in the backfield, he doesn't have.
I mean, I just think that we're at a point now where, if you're a really good football team, you have 3 guys that can run the ball.
Yeah.
I think both these teams this weekend, Niners and Buccaneers, have the potential for really good 3-headed monsters. Bucky Irving's their best, but Rashad White's a hell of a receiver.
Yes.
Sean Tucker is very, very underrated running back, very solid.
That's right. It's Sean Tucker. I mixed him up with Keyshawn Vaughn earlier, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer. You're right.
Yeah,
Sean Tucker out of
Sean Tucker, who's got good contact balance, and he's a solid running back. So I mean, they've got 3 good ones, and now the Niners have 3 good ones, and the cool thing is if you like diversity in your rushing attack, when you have different backs that have different skill sets, it almost kind of forces you to kind of have some diversity as far as what it looks like. You don't always have to be in the gun. You can do a bunch of different things, different formations. I like the idea of, like, to me, what would be a perfect blend would be, give me 15 touches for McCaffrey, 10 carries, 5, either passes or dump offs, safety valve, 15 touches for him, which sounds a little low, but I want to be a little conservative. 12 touches for JP Mason. And so now you're at 27. And in an ideal world, I'd like to have, 10. I'd like a run heavy scheme because you don't have the receivers you used to have.
Right.
And I'd like 10 carries for Guerendo. That gets you at 37. Yeah. That's if you can run the ball 37 times. I like their chances. Now, think about it. This always seems like the impossible, but it's more the impossible, not because other teams shut down their run game. It's because they get bored with it. They don't stick with it. They don't have a game where they Shanahan loves offensive balance so much that they'll run successfully and he'll just stop running because all of a sudden it's like, yeah, let's pass. Yeah. It's like, no, they can't stop your run and you've got a can full of backs. Run the heck out of it. I mean, that's what Green Bay did when they lost Love. I'm not saying that they have to run it that much. That was 53 times. The first week they lost Love, they had Willis in there.
Yeah.
But take the burden off of Brock, and especially now that he doesn't have Ayuk and it's not the same passing game and his offensive line's not a great pass blocking line. But guess what? It's a pretty good run blocking line, and you've got 3 different runners. Spread it, really 4 if you want to throw Debo in there. He's different than the other 3 altogether. So you got different kinds of runners. Utilize them all and run the hell out of it. I mean, let's see if the Niners can win running it 58% of the time for a month. What do you think?
Yeah, it is interesting. Kyle sometimes overthinks it, at least from my vantage point, in that it's what I know that you know. And so when they're running the ball effectively, he doesn't want to give the defense a chance to fully counter before he starts throwing it back, literally throwing it again. And then, that will keep the run game. It's just this constant. And it's like, dude, just do the thing that you're doing effectively well until they prove that they can stop it. But Kyle's so afraid of being stopped and losing a drive that he'll sort of try to stay on the front foot with passing. It goes back to the ideology thing versus pragmatism that Kyle has been challenged with so much throughout his career. 2 other thoughts on that, going back to some stuff you were saying. They absolutely need to have some tandem in the backfield. I don't think anybody in their right mind, even those who are suggesting that Christian McCaffrey is going to get a heavy workload, and I'd consider myself part of that camp, thinks that JP Mason is just going to be relegated to the bench, and that we're not going to see Isaac Guerendo again. I think that'd be foolhardy from the 49ers, and I don't think that they're that big of fools, even though there's been some stuff that you can clearly point to and say it's pretty foolish. It's very reminiscent of the Elijah Mitchell spell series that you wouldn't get as often as you needed to, but you did get at certain points back in 2022 where, hey, we're just going to run the ball. We're going to put in Mitchell. There's no glitz, no glamour, no misdirection. We're just going to run the fucking ball down your throat here because it's December or it's January, and that's how you win football games. You could absolutely – Jordan Mason's an upgrade compared to Eli Mitchell, who was a hell of a runner for them in that role. And then having Guerendo there in case McCaffrey is in the blue tent is nice to where you can still implement that game plan, albeit with a lesser player. You mentioned off the top there diversity in looks, and I'm curious as to if Kyle does have the sort of bag of playbook stuff to integrate all three of these guys, and in some cases, two of them simultaneously. I saw Bucky Irving run a play out of the wing T for Tampa Bay on Monday. They ran the wing fucking T, Larry, and they had Irving at tight end, which is what it would be considered tight end now, and he comes around on an end around, and it's like, that's some cool shit from Liam Cohen, former Kentucky offensive coordinator, former Rams offensive. That's cool. Do that kind of stuff. I know that the entire point isn't to make Dieter and Larry think that you have such a cool playbook and what an innovative caller. The whole point is to win the goddamn game, and the more complications you put on stuff, the more challenging it is for the other 10 guys on the field. But I don't know. What an idea. Maybe mix up some old football and the new football, maybe do some new stuff with the new old stuff. I do think this is a cool opportunity for Kyle because they haven't had a true three-headed monster in – nothing comes to mind. You can tell me if something comes to mind for you. They do have one guy that they lean on and then a guy that they'll spell him with every now and again, and frankly, not frequently enough. They've never had three. And maybe that means that Guerendo just isn't going to be seen from again. And, hey, thanks for the help, buddy. Consider it a red shirt year. We'll talk to you next year. I just think that'd be foolish because he does have some momentum going behind him, and I would like to see Kyle.
He's a game breaker. If you don't hand the ball to Guerendo, I'm gonna rip the shit out of you in the post game. I mean, I don't give a shit. If you don't give that guy 3 or 4 touches a game,
right?
What are you doing? He's huge. He's fast.
Yep.
You know, this is football. Last I checked, huge and fast is good.
I was thinking about that earlier today with the Niners in particular, and it does feel as if, you know, there are some teams that are absolutely massive, and the Niners don't want to play that way. They want to have a little bit more finesse, right? They want to be physical, but they're never going to be like the biggest football team. The problem is they don't feel very fast right now. Isaac Guerendo is fast as hell.
Right.
He is so goddamn fast. Absolutely, Larry. You hit the nail on the head. If you have someone who is giant and really fast, the only two guys who have ever run the 40-yard dash as fast as Guerendo at that weight are him and DK Metcalf. If you have one of those guys, figure out a way for those guys to have the ball, because there's nobody, not Fred Warner, not Nick Bosa, and maybe Vita Vea is the example that proves the rule here, the exception that proves the rule. But like, that kind of athleticism is a cheat code. So, yeah, you need to use it, but you need to be judicious in it. And this is where Kyle being more creative in his game plan could come in handy. And I don't think we're going to see it, but I'd love to see it from him. I'd love to see that evolution. Do some stuff that Liam Cohen's doing. He's made Baker Mayfield look like a bargain at $30 million a year. They gave him a huge pay raise. He still looks like a bargain. They're still moving the ball, even without their top 2 wide receivers, one of which is out for the year. They got, 3 running backs. It didn't matter who's in. Sean Tucker's in. Here's 100-something yards for you. Rashad White, who's always been kind of a crappy running back, but a great pass catcher. They still integrate him, and they're bringing in, Bucky, and it's like things are moving there. They got something going on, and that's not an exceptionally talented team. The 49ers, say what you will about some of the spots that feel weak. They're an exceptionally talented team, and I haven't seen the sort of creativity yet from Kyle Shanahan that puts the ball in those players' hands in interesting and advantageous ways. Maybe with Christian McCaffrey back, Kyle can start to show us some of that, because it's been an underwhelming year from him, to be honest.
All right, let's talk Better. The live stream sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money, and we've done it.
Sure.
Multiple times. So download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does is automatically entered into a drawing to win a signed Fred Warner jersey that I have sitting right next to me. We're going to announce the winner at the end of November. All right. Dieter and I have been hot at this. So let's go Niners Bucks and let's take a look at some of these numbers.
Come on, Kev,
let's make some money. Oh, sorry. If I don't want to jinx us with my intensity, but there you go. I'm very intense. All right. Brock Purdy. Let's go look at Brock Purdy. I think what's making me intense is I'm looking at that Giants hat and I'm thinking about all the free agents that they're not going to sign.
Yeah.
And then it just makes me go, Argh!
I'm just here to trigger you, Lair.
Yes. And you know what really gets me too is that you wear that Giants hat and yet, come on, let's be honest. You're not really a Giants fan. You're not even from here.
No. I'm sorry. You need to be from here in order to rep San Francisco. You want to play? You want to play that gatekeeping game? I'm
not trying to attack you, but it is, like it's. Are you really a Giants fan?
I mean, I fucking watch 140 games of the Giants every year. I don't know if I'm a fan.
Were you a fan? When you were at University of Missouri, who were you a fan of?
I'm a Chicago White Sox fan first and foremost.
Okay. There you go. I knew that's something I liked about you. All my family are White Sox fans on my mom's side. And of course, my dad's side, we're all Giants fans.
Larry, if you were a Chicago White Sox fan, would you want to make that public all the time?
You know what? I can talk Eric Soderholm. I can go back to Oscar Gamble.
Listen,
you know what? You say Chet Lemon, and I don't give you a blank look. We talking Bill Melton? Where Harold Baines was merely a prospect.
Wow.
Yeah,
you mean seriously. Orioles great Harold Baines?
Do you see this? All this gray hair? This used to be brown. All right, let's go to Purdy. 300.5 passing yards. Ooh, that number's high.
That's on a bonus.
You know what's cool about
261.5 though. You got that multiple booster though.
Yeah, you can go higher, or you can go 261.5. Even that's a kind of a higher number compared to what he's had recently. So they're expecting more passing yards.
Yeah.
I don't like those though. Those are too high for me. 31.5 passing attempts. No.
If we need a Purdy bet, the 37.5. No, because
14.5 rush yards.
Yeah, the McCaffrey thing is going to be tricky. It creates a level of trickiness because you'll have the check down if McCaffrey's playing. And
I love the rush yard thing again.
I would like the longest pass. I mean, the Tampa Bay secondary is such a mess, and the Niners, especially if they're able to get teams in zone, are going to have a lot of yak yards in this game. So you can go where you want, Larry. It is your show.
I like that. Let's go. We'll go 37.5 longest pass. We'll go there.
Can I see a little Ricky Pearsall, if at all possible?
Do we have some Pearsall?
Pierce not.
I don't like Pearsall.
Well, I'll give you one that I'm advocating on other mediums. If we can go to Bucky Irving, I want to see what that line is because some of these reputable sports books
30.5 rush yards.
Yeah, I see it at 29.5 on some of these books, and I'm on the over there or the more, if you will.
Yeah, I like that over too.
Yeah,
he's their best back.
He is. He's a wonderful back. Now, the thing is, everyone gets worried about him because, he hasn't practiced. He hasn't practiced in 3 flipping weeks. And yes, there are other options, but he's their best back.
Okay,
and they know to get the ball.
Here's the one thing about this game. We haven't really hammered down because we were talking about other things. You sound a lot more fearful of the Bucs offense, I guess, than I am.
Yes.
What I'm looking at, and tell me maybe I'm not seeing this right. But I see no Evans, no Godwin. I just watched them on Monday night against Kansas City, and they needed Sterling Shepard to have a huge at the end of the game, and he was huge. But he's hurt now, and he's not going to play. He hasn't practiced.
Nope.
So what do they got? They got Cade Otton and these 3 backs. I don't see. I mean,
Scotty Miller in your life.
Yeah, Trey Palmer, Scotty Miller, Cade Otton, and these 3 running backs? No.
Okay.
Come on. The Niners shut down, and granted, it was last year. They had Greenlaw. But last year, they shut down a Jacksonville team that had Evan Ingram and, some speed. And
to be fair, the Niners knew that was a put up or shut up game for them. They had just come off of 3 losses in a row. They were healthy again. They had Debo and Trent back in the lineup. And listen, it's not to say that there aren't
that's Sunday.
Well,
listen to this. If the Niners win on Sunday, they have a 66% chance of making the playoffs. If the Niners lose on Sunday, they have a 36% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is a huge game.
There's no question it's a big game, but I can't get over the length of the Niners injury report coming off a bye. It just keeps getting bigger, and it's nice that McCaffrey's coming back to a unknown role. It's nice that Juwan Jennings is practicing, but how many snaps does he actually get coming off of that weird hip injury? Debo's out here. This is such a small thing, and I might sound like a total kook for pointing this out. This might be total. Debo was wearing blue cleats at practice on Wednesday. And you go, okay, what's the big deal on that? Well, he's wearing the blue jersey. So he was wearing cleats that matched the no contact jersey. Like that was just a weird energy to me that I can't shake out of my head. And it felt very defeatist in a way. I don't know why it was. I don't know why that bothered me. Who has special cleats for when they're in the no contact jersey?
I'm wearing cleats right now, and we're doing. Yes, I'm wearing cleats. I like.
Why are you wearing cleats?
No, I'm just
Jim Harbaugh over here. Like,
imagine.
I've just never seen.
Just in case, man. I want good. I want to be able to cut well. I want to be able to cut really, really.
Now there's
cleanly.
a kook. What I'm saying is
cut very cleanly in my house.
I don't know what you can expect from Debo Samuel in this game, and that's a big part of their offense if it were to fully actualize. But
he's kind of looked good at practice this week, to be honest. I know he's been wearing the blue jersey, but I think he's looked good. I think they're saving him up for a big game.
Slow.
Malik Mustafa, by the way, got hurt today, so there's the chance that he may not play, but so we won't take his. I like the Bosa. Give me the Bosa. I like the Bosa's. Bosa's getting a sack of Baker. That's right.
He's
no doubt he's getting a sack.
He's
Baker.
Having a week. He's just going to have a week.
Bosa more than a half sack. That's a gimme.
The Lenore tackles and assists is super interesting, but we have 3. So do we need anything else? Do we need to push the envelope any further?
Let's go look at the Lenore. 5.5 tackles or assists. I mean, he's going to have 5 tackles by himself, even if he had no assists. And you know what? That's a good one too, because he's going to play a lot. Mm-hmm. They're going to run the ball a lot.
They run 11 personnel too. Yeah.
And so he's going to make it. Let's go with that. Let's go more than 5.5 tackles and assists. That's a good.
Now I will say, Lair, the challenge here is that it's an away game. And away game, it's worse in the college ranks, but even at the pro ranks, assisted tackles do not translate to the road team. They don't help you out as much when you're the road team. So we have to be all in on this premise that he's going to get 5 on his own.
Yeah,
solo tackles. Okay,
I think they're gonna run it quite a bit. I mean, once again, I mean, you don't have. I mean, tell me their 2 best receivers. Who are the 2 best receivers that Tampa has?
Otten. And the rookie, whose name eludes me.
The rookie receiver, Raheem Jarrett. Is that who you're talking about from
Somebody
Maryland?
Like yeah, hold on, I'm pulling. I'll tell you.
I think that's what you're talking about.
I like Raheem Jarrett a lot. If Shepard plays, it's him. I went Palmer. I get it. I understand.
McMillan's hurt too, so that's the thing.
Actually,
Evans
know what?
Is hurt.
I'll give you the answer.
Shepard's hurt.
It's Cade Otton and Rashad White. Those are 2 really good receivers.
Wow. I mean, that's the thing. If you can't lose to a team that lines up, with Ryan Miller, Trey Palmer, and Raheem Jarrett. I mean, if you lose to that team, and now this line's good. I'll say that. Wirfs is good, but Bretterson's also hurt.
Right.
But the rest of this line's really good. I mean, Cody Mock, Graham Barton, Gadecki. Where's the big, what's the thing? The pillow on top of his
head. Guardian helmet. Yes.
The Guardian cap. But he's a tough guy. And Payne Durham hasn't done anything, even though he's a good tight end. It's been all Cade Otton. So all you got to do is double Cade Otton in the red zone, and you're cooking. this offense. I just don't look at this as a huge challenge for the Niners defense. I think it looked like a monumental challenge 4 weeks ago when they had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But now you take away Evans and Godwin and Sterling Shepard and Jalen McMillan. I mean, it's like, come on, man. These teams don't. It's not college. I mean, this isn't Florida State where you just, the next guy's a 5-star.
Do we want to use the 1-7 Florida State Seminoles as the example here, Larry?
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking of deep teams over.
I understand what you're saying, though. Yeah, it ain't Ohio State. It ain't Alabama. I get it.
And here's the other one: Baker didn't practice yesterday or today with a toe injury.
That's true.
So what's going on there? I mean, their backup is Kyle Trask.
That's probably not going to go well for him. I will say this, though, Larry. The idea that they're going to run the ball a lot, they should be doing that regardless of who the wide receivers are, because you can gash the 49ers. And I don't know if this is a good transition or not. Pull me back if I am. The Niners didn't do anything at the trade deadline to improve their run defense. This Khalil Davis guy is a body. He is not an impact player, at least from the tape I've watched. And I get what they see in some of the athletic explosion, but like as a prospect, that would be interesting. But he's been in the league for multiple years, and it's never translated onto the field. The only time you see that incredible fleet of footness is when he's chasing down a running back that's already run past him. He just gets moved out of the way again and again and again, and that is the MO of this 49ers defensive tackle group. Meanwhile, you're not setting the edge on the opposite side and Bosa's getting double teamed every play. I would sure as hell run it. I would run it every goddamn play if I was Tampa Bay. And you could probably get a lot of yards that way against this 49ers defense, even with a Fred Warner and a Nick Bosa on it. So that's where my concern lies.
The Niners rush defense is 6th in the league.
I mean, by what
they
metric?
give up 105.8 points per game, 6th in the league.
But it's not efficient. It's a terribly inefficient run.
I mean, they're 14th in pass D. They're 6th in run D.
But but anyone who's watched this team knows that those metrics should be flipped. That knows that this is a much better pass defense team than it is a run defense team, particularly when we're talking about up the middle. I mean, I can pull up the DVOA or the EPA or something like that. I'm not sure it's going to convince anybody, but there is a certain level of game script that forces, lower numbers. The Niners for years, right? They had that, we haven't given up a 100-yard rusher. Well, just because you're giving up 94 on one end and 62 to another back doesn't mean you have a good run defense, because neither of them got 100. They had that streak forever, and they were an average run defense at best, and they're worse now. They're a worse run defense now. So it just
I'm looking at the statistical profile in front of me.
Yeah.
The Niners are 2nd in total offense. Bucks are 5th.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners are 10th in total defense. Bucks are 30th in total defense. So that's usually where I start. Then
it's a good place to start.
Then I go rush offense. Niners are 4th in rush offense. Bucks are 10th.
This is yards per game.
This is 159 yards a game. 4th. Yeah. The Bucks are 19th in run D. Okay, but the Niners are also 4th in passing offense, and the Bucks are 30th in pass defense. You kind of referenced it before. Their DBs are all hurt.
They're a mess.
Their defense has some big names on it: Kalijah Cansey, Antoine Winfield, Levante David. I mean, they've got some good football players on that side of the ball. But
Vita Vea.
But they don't get results. I mean, they're not. No. Their defense has not been good. Their defense is 30th in yards and 28th in points. So they're not good. They're 19th against the run. They're 30th against the pass. They are top 10 in sacks.
Yep. They blitz a lot. They bring pressure because they don't have any outside of Vea. They don't have any viable one-on-one winners.
Yeah, and they're 19th in turnover ratio, and Niners are 8th. The Niners, by comparison, are 2nd in total offense, 4th rushing offense, 4th passing offense, 2nd overall in time of possession. Niners hold the ball for almost 33 minutes, and then on defense, they're 16th in points, 10th in yards, 6th against the run, 14th against the pass. They're 18th overall in sacks. Where the Niners have been good is they get a lot of picks. They've got 10 picks. That's top 5. That's 4th overall in the NFL.
Yeah.
So we shall see. I mean, you know what's really kind of amazing? The 49ers have averaged 381 yards per game since 2019. That's third in the NFL. But this year, they're still, even the fact, they've been pretty good on offense considering they haven't had McCaffrey. I mean, you take away Christian McCaffrey, the reigning offensive player of the year, and then you have Ayuk's out for the year, and Kittle's missed time, and Pearsall's missed time, and yet the 49ers are second in total offense. I mean, it's like, this is where the people who are like, Kyle Shanahan sucks. It's like they rip Brock Purdy, but then Kyle Shanahan sucks. But then without Christian McCaffrey, the Niners are second in total offense and sixth in points because they're struggling a little bit in the red zone, but still sixth. I mean, we're not talking about 26th. They're sixth.
They moved the ball.
Yeah, I mean, they're a top 5 offense both on the ground and in the air, and they possess the ball more than every team in the league except for one. So, I mean, it's like, Kyle Shanahan's this, Kyle Shanahan's that. Kyle Shanahan hasn't had his best weapon, and he's got the second best offense in football. Am I missing something?
Well, yes. I think that a lot of people are frustrated, and myself, I would include myself in this camp, in that Kyle Shanahan hasn't felt like he has pushed the envelope in any way, shape, or form. Now, a good counter argument, one I can't go with, is why would you need to? Why would you need to push the envelope? You're moving the ball. But so much of the 49ers offensive success, we can really break it down to something pretty straightforward. It's Jordan Mason breaking tackles. He breaks more tackles than anybody else. The amount of times that this dude got hit in the backfield, shook a dude off, got to the second and third level for a 10-yard gain, I don't have enough room in the notebook for it. That was their offense. They had a great running back operating at an extremely high level. But there wasn't any of the pizzazz or the interesting stuff that you usually see from a Kyle Shanahan this year. I can't remember the last time I went, oh, that was a really cool play. And I know that cool doesn't translate into wins. It doesn't matter. If you can run the ball down somebody's throat, you should. But it doesn't feel as if Kyle Shanahan has been the reason why this offense has been firing on all cylinders. It feels like Brock Purdy's made some big-time throws. And it feels like Jordan Mason has put the team on his back at times, and that there is a lot of talent on this squad. So there's just enough honesty in a defense to give you what they've gotten. But when you have a run defense that's 23rd in the NFL in rush EPA, so we're talking about efficiency metrics now, they're 23rd in the NFL. You can run the ball on them. And a lot of the, they haven't given up.
You're talking about their defense. I'm talking about, I was talking about their offense.
No. But my point is, when you have a defense that's appreciably worse than it's been in recent years, and your offense isn't that number one offense, maybe it's number two, maybe not. The advanced numbers that I prefer because they're more normalized doesn't say that, but it's still a good offense. No one's saying it's a garbage offense. The idea is that you need to take the offense to another level. They were number one last year with a top 10-ish defense. This year, they're a middle-of-the-pack defense, and that's being generous at times because they have played, New England and Dallas and, the Rams, who only played about half the Jets in week 1. I mean, this has been the cupcake part of their schedule here. It's about to get real interesting real fast. And, in fact, Tampa is the nice part of it. But when you have the defense that's fallen off
a break, because if they caught Tampa a month ago, would have been a totally different deal.
100%. The second half of the schedule looks a lot more attainable than it did when the schedule came out. That's for sure. That's how the NFL goes. But when the defense has fallen off a little bit from being a top 10 to now a 15, 16, your offense can't fall off too. And the offense has unquestionably fallen off. Now, we can all chalk that up directly to Christian McCaffrey not being in there. I would have no counter argument to that whatsoever, other than why is Kyle Shanahan so beholden to one single player to make this offense hum the way that it hummed last year? Well, I get that he is a brilliant, great, perhaps Hall of Fame player. Why is he so dependent on one player for everything to work? Whereas you got a guy like Liam Cohen, who I'm not in any way implying is better than Kyle Shanahan at his job, but Liam Cohen is out his top 2-3 wide receivers and still finds a way to get points on the board, get the ball into the, his best players' hands, even when the entire defensive attention is on them, able to move a ball in a way that, let's be real, the 49ers couldn't move the ball against Kansas City the way that Tampa Bay did on Monday night. Now, we get into the whole rest disparity thing, and I do think the Niners win because Tampa Bay is coming in battered and bruised, and the Niners are coming in rested, and it's the first time they've had a win in rest disparity all year, and I imagine they take advantage of it, including the McCaffrey inclusion. But the idea that this 49ers team is a couple of penalties or just a couple of red zone plays away from being a juggernaut feels off to me. No one's implying that they aren't leaving something on the table on both sides of the ball here, but it feels like there are many levels above what they've already shown. And I think that without being able, and I certainly haven't been able to explain those frustrations well enough. So when you're not in that mind space, you just feel frustrated by it. And when you feel frustrated by a football team, you blame the head coach. That's just a knee-jerk reaction, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I'm blaming the head coach a little bit because clearly I'm frustrated.
Blame the head coach. 49ers brought in a defensive player. You're not, doesn't sound like you're a fan. Khalil Davis. Here he is in the locker room. I talked to him today.
Nice guy.
I think you were standing right there. But here we go. Here's a little Khalil Davis. And then we'll talk a little bit about him. Here it is.
You were getting some pretty good run in Houston, so you've played quite a bit. How do you feel physically coming into this part of the year?
I feel really good. I'm walking. Obviously I'm banged up and I got things going on, but I'm able to play and I'm healthy, so that's all I can ask.
Bosa, Floyd, what's it like walking into this line? I mean, this is a line where Bosa gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, it's awesome. I watch a lot of the San Fran tape because they run the same system. So it's kind of crazy just to all of a sudden be here with these guys. I'm excited because they draw a lot of attention, which gives other guys opportunities to go make plays. So I'm just gonna maximize it.
There you go. A little bit of not Kalia Davis, but Khalil Davis, and we also have Sorensen weighing in on Khalil Davis. Let's hear from Sorensen here.
What do you like about Khalil? And
here we go. Here's a little bit on Sorensen.
The defensive tackle at the trade deadline. What do you like about Khalil, and kind of where do you see him fitting in that group?
Yeah, where he fits in, we'll see. We still want to see, some more. I think he's just had the one, shorter practice yesterday without pads. So the cool thing is he's an explosive guy. He's twitched up. He's been in our system and he's had production. So we'll just kind of go from there and figure out how he fits. It's always good to add depth to a position like that of a good player.
Anything?
So not a lot of specifics there. Doesn't sound like Sorensen's even seen or knows anything about the guy, to be honest. But whatever, it doesn't matter.
If you watch his tape,
I wasn't very happy with this edition. Yeah. I mean, I interviewed him today. He seems like a nice enough kid. Yeah. I would probably say the same without watching him. I would probably say the same thing that Sorensen said, which is, hey, it's a depth guy and this and that. I just thought, you know what? If Davon Godchaux was out there, he was 330 pounds. I think he could have made a real difference in their run defense. I look at this guy as not very good against the run. He's another version of Kevin. He's a 310-pound Kevin Givens instead of 285-pound Kevin Givens.
Kevin Givens gets lower than this guy. Kevin Givens can actually win a one-on-one.
I'm just saying they're all one. He's a one-gap penetrator. He's not a big run stuffer, clogger.
Nope.
Davon Godchaux, you would have seen the difference. Warner would have been freed up to run more. He would have clogged up the middle. Now you have another guy. It's always nice to have another body, but to me, it was a nominal improvement. I was very disappointed with what the 49ers didn't get done at the deadline.
Yeah.
I don't understand their thinking because it's almost like they don't really believe. And I know they would fight, like they would challenge me on that. Oh, what do you mean we don't believe? We believe. Yeah. You want your players to think you believe,
right?
But your actions say you don't believe, because if you believed, then you would believe that, you know what? All you got to do is outrun Arizona, Seattle, and the Rams, get in the playoff picture. And yeah, you're going to have to play one more game and you're going to have to venture out on the road after the first game, most likely.
Yeah.
But it's not like you've got some it's not the NCAA tournament and you're the 16 seed.
Right.
It's not like it's not like you're trying to win the lottery out with the fewest ping pong balls. I mean, it's not, the decks are not stacked against you.
No.
You have playoff experience. You were in the Super Bowl. You should have experience that Detroit and Green Bay and these other teams don't have and only dream of. Right. And it's like, why would you not want to improve your hand as much as you possibly could? And then if you get in there, you make a run. I mean, I watched the New York Giants go to the Super Bowl with Eli Manning. It wasn't like some epic all-time Giant team, but guess what? They put themselves in position. They got in the playoffs and they got hot once they got there. And it's like the 49ers can absolutely do that with this quarterback and this cast of characters, but they don't act like they didn't improve themselves in any serious way.
Right.
Tayshaun Gibson, really? That's the best you can do? And you needed a linebacker. You didn't get one. No. You needed a defensive end. You didn't get one. Nope. You needed a defensive tackle who could clog the middle. You didn't get one. You needed speed at receiver. You added nobody. I don't know. I mean, very, very, very disappointed in Lynch and what they didn't do when you consider they have $54 million under the cap. This is their absolutely go time for this roster. You think their roster is going to be deeper and better next year when they're paying Brock Purdy north of $50 million? The odds, it would take almost a personnel Houdini act to be deeper next year after paying Brock $50 million. It would almost mandate that they hit on almost every move they made in the entire offseason. This was clearly, there was no move out there that wasn't going to cost you tons of picks. I mean, the Chiefs got D-Hop for nothing. The Ravens got Deontay Johnson for nothing. Yeah. And you couldn't get anybody. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. When Shanahan was asked about it, when Lynch was asked about it, they so quickly dismissed it as, oh, yeah, well, we're getting injured guys back. Well, guess what? If Christian McCaffrey comes back and is Christian McCaffrey, fine. Yeah, then you're right. If Dre Greenlaw comes back as Dre Greenlaw, then yeah, fine. You're right. Anything short of that, and you blew an opportunity to improve your football team for what? A few dollars on the cap? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, very unimpressed with what they did or what they didn't do compared to the other teams in the league. I mean, yeah, they have a very good chance of going to if they beat Tampa, they've got I told you, they have a 66% chance of making the playoffs. When you have a 66% chance of making the playoffs, why wouldn't you add to your mix? To me, it made no sense.
I'm with you. This felt perfunctory. It felt like they made a move because we got to do something. And I think that what they gave up tells you everything about this guy. They traded away a 7th rounder next year, not 2025, 2026. The Texans were going to cut this guy. By the way, the Houston Texans, who have now traded 2 defensive tackles to the 49ers in the past couple of months, and by the way, are really struggling at defensive tackle. The Texans aren't in any great shakes where we got so many defensive tackles. What could we ever do? No, they're searching for defensive tackles. And in the meantime, they'll throw the 49ers a couple of them for next to nothing. So have fun with that. That's an interesting
dynamic. A guy walking through the desert, and he's throwing you a canteen of water that he doesn't need.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I wish it was water. I mean, I think it's piss. So I guess you can drink it, go full water world on this. I don't know. This guy will make a couple plays. There's no question about it. He has the athleticism. I don't see this
twitched up. He's twitched up, according to Sorensen.
I mean, I get it. When you look at it, this is the kind of player that coming out of college, I love because he is an elite level athlete for his size. And you go, man, you give him the right coaching, you put him in the right system, he could really explode. Well, the reason the 49ers got this guy, Khalil Davis, and by the way, that won't be hyper confusing for the rest of the year having Kalia Davis too. The reason they got him is because, as Sorensen noted, he's in the system. the Houston Texans run the exact same scheme as the 49ers. They run the wide 9. So they don't have to teach him anything, which they consider a bonus. The problem is all of this upside that they talk about is totally negated by the fact that we have now years of tape on this dude in the same fucking system, and he hasn't performed at all, to the point where the Texans are like, yeah, just throw us whatever you want, like a, I don't know, 26th, 7th. No, okay. It's just a body. This is a practice squad signing, effectively. And the idea that that's going to fundamentally change their run defense, which I thought was the number one priority for this team at the trade deadline, is laughable. There's a Jeremiah Ledbetter in Jacksonville who, say what you will about the guy, no one knows who the hell he is, but if you watch him, you'll notice he doesn't move when he gets blocked. He might not be penetrating. He might not be one-gapping. He might not be this crazy twitched-up dude, but when you put hands and a body on him, he stays where he is. And you know what that makes everyone else's job? Easier, because he can hold a goddamn gap. This Niners team doesn't have anybody on the defensive line who can hold a goddamn gap. And the idea that Kusarek is great, as T-Dub is pointing out here, where's the evidence of that? Legitimately. He has this reputation.
Well, I
where's
mean,
the evidence?
Arden Key's making a lot of money. I mean, there's guys making money now who, Samson Ebcom got a nice little contract. I mean, there were guys who played well for Chris that didn't necessarily play well before. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe Khalil Davis
Buckner in the middle. Is that because they had Eric?
I don't know.
Their run defense.
I'm just saying he got a lot out of Kerry Hyder. It seems like he gets guys that he likes and guys play hard for him. But there's no two gapper there. I mean, I don't know.
And this is my big issue, Larry, is that they're doubling down on not just this wide 9 system, which I've complained about a lot, and it's not going to change. I know that I'm yelling into the void here, but I would like it if we didn't have Nick Bosa lined up as the nickelback. That would be something that I think might be beneficial to a 49ers team that can't seem to set an edge to save its life for multiple years now. I would like a defensive tackle that can hold the gap as opposed to try to split it every time, because I don't know, the running back can see you coming and move out of the way. And they're doubling down on this wide 9 system that I don't think they have the personnel to effectively run, because they don't have a behemoth in the middle who can do what Kusarek wants while also actually holding a gap. And then on top of that, they're doubling down on all of John Lynch's moves from the offseason, most of which 8 games into the season look like absolute ass. We forgot to mention Yetur Gross-Matos. Apparently, Yetur Gross-Matos is the game changer that this team has always needed. Like,
I'll tell you right now, you know who's a free agent is Jason Pierre-Paul. I mean, they've got to get another rusher. I don't know if it's Yetur Gross-Matos, but Jason Pierre-Paul, you can pick him off the street, and he is, still has a body to rush the passer. He still can do it. They need some help. I mean, they're going to need some help. Otherwise, or Beal's going to have to be something, or Sam O's going to have to be something, or Leonard Floyd is suddenly going to have to play. This is what happens so many times. It's almost like what the Giants have done in the past in baseball. It's like you get a guy that would be fantastic for like 200 at bats, but you don't play him 200 at bats. You play him for 450 at bats, and you wonder why he sucks. It's like, hey, maybe Yaz should just play for 200 at bats. On a championship team, guys like Yaz just play 200 at bats. And instead, the Giants say, well, no, we need him to play 450 at bats. And the guy stinks.
They always have the idea.
And they've been doing this forever. And the Niners are doing the exact same thing here.
You're spot on. It is absolutely like that. Now, we do need to point out why a guy like Yaz, but Yaz is meant at the beginning of the season in this weird conceptual realm, like, oh, he'll only get 200 bats. He'll just be a platoon. Well, then Austin Slater sucks something fierce, or, they don't think Ramos is ready in time, or we can't play Matos. So we just, we have Yaz. We'll just keep playing him. And eventually, because of an injury or because something else didn't work out, this whole concept of a platoon, this large parlay that you've built up here, falls apart, and now you're stuck with a mediocre player who has limited upside and really in only one area. Well, now that guy plays every day. I love Sam Aquanu. I think he's a really, really good player. I think he's been an absolutely great find. I'm the first motherfucker who wrote a column on him. Like, I'm in on Sam Aquanu. The 49ers were having to play him at 3 technique because they didn't have a defensive tackle who could theoretically rush the passer. They can't
Well,
stop
you know
the
what
run,
it is? They just
and they have
think
to
that
play him as a 3-tech.
Yeah, I mean they love him as a 3-tech because he will come off a block and make a play against the run, and he's obviously going to give you much more of a pass rush than the most interior guys.
Like we're talking about Sam Ekwonu, who again I really like and I think should be playing a lot. But you're talking about this guy who they cut. I know they kept him for a day, but they cut him before the month of August was over. That guy is now the guy who's going to be playing opposite Nick Bosa. He's the one who's going to make this defensive line all click. Yeah, I mean it's fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, no, I mean I'll give you another one. I mean, there's they need help. I mean, they need help at defensive end. I mean, there's just no question. I mean, they need help. And it's like what are you gonna do? I mean, you can add guys right now if you want, but obviously they think that their guys can do it. We got to see. I mean, it's gonna.
What on earth
to me,
could
Floyd,
they have seen from Robert?
They need to limit
Beal?
Floyd's usage. I mean, he's not going to be able to last if you're going to play him the way they're playing him. What do you think of Yannick Ngakoue? The Ravens released him today, and they're going to put him on their practice squad if nobody picks him up. I mean, Ngakoue is at least. I mean, he's a little short, but I mean, he's a proven rusher in this league. He's had double-digit sack years, multiple double-digit sack years.
I'm not against player. I'm not against it. I mean,
I mean they need something.
They need something. And, I'm glad you mentioned linebacker there. Oh, well, don't worry. Greenlaw will come back off an Achilles injury and he'll be fine. And it's safety. Oh, well, we don't, we'll just bring back Gip because, what happens if either of their two young safeties, let's just pretend they keep playing great. Let's just extrapolate that one out. What happens if one of them, like Mustafa, gets injured?
He did. He got hurt today.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So, you don't even have backups for these guys other than Gip, who you literally had to get because Jacksonville had too many good saves. Go and ask, does Trent Baalke not accept calls from 408 area codes? Because I don't know how you're not on the phone with Jacksonville saying, hey, you guys have some stuff we would like to have, and you would like to have some draft picks because your season's going nowhere. A Ledbetter, a Cisco, a Savage, go down the line. Jacksonville had players that could have helped you, maybe not been the game changers that immediately catapult you to number one in the NFC in the books for NFC championship game odds, but it can add some serious depth. And I have no problem with saying, hey, our draft picks are important. We're a 4-4 team. We're one Brock Purdy knee twist away from drafting in the top 10 here. I understand that you have to hold your cards pretty close here. But when you have all the comp picks in the world, when you have 3 7th-round picks, when you got 2 4th-rounders, when you got a 5th, why are you being precious over day 3 picks? You herd and you hold on to your top 100 picks because you need cheap quality labor in the new Brock Purdy era when he's getting paid. I get that. You don't touch day 1. You don't touch day 2. Those are off limits. You're a 4-4 football team, and you need all the cheap young help you can get. But day 3, you can acquire a day 3 pick for free on day 3. And you're telling me you can get a quality NFL player that can give you 25 quality snaps, and you're not going to use one of those picks to find that guy this year when the Super Bowl window, as they at least say, but seem not to believe, to piggyback off of your point, when they say their Super Bowl window is wide open, I'm not saying it's cowardice. I think it's hubris that they think that they already have all the ingredients to make the meal. And I've watched them cook for the last 8 weeks. And let me tell you, I don't think it's going to be a very good dish.
I mean, they've got to get it going. I mean, right now they have not looked very good. And offensively they've looked pretty good, but special teams has been a mess. And defensively, I'm not sure exactly what to say about it. They allow a lot of passes to be completed in the middle of the field. Campbell had a good game against Dallas, but basically Dallas has terrible running backs and they're slow. If you put speed backs out there, they're going to make him look really, really bad.
Watch the Kansas City. Campbell's going to have a really bad week. It's going to be awful to watch because I can guarantee you that Liam Cohen, even on a short week, has watched that Kansas City film, and a guy who likes to bring his weapons from outside to inside is going to watch exactly what Mecole Hartman and Xavier Worthy did to Campbell. As my co-host on the Dieter and Hutch podcast, Jake Hutchinson, likes to say, it's all in slow motion in Devondre Campbell's mind because he's seen everything, right? He's got all this experience. It's in slow motion. Well, his body's in slow motion too. There was a play.
I mean, come on. Yeah, I can watch the guy. He's no lateral agility.
It's unbelievable.
He seems like he's jogging out to practice 15 minutes late every day too. Do you notice?
Well,
that?
he's got to get a lot of work. He's got to get a lot.
What's going on there? What's going on there? Everybody else will do stuff, and then he'll come out like 15 minutes later and jog out to his.
I'll say this about him: that dude spent more time with the trainers in training camp than I think like the interns for the training staff.
There are better linebackers on practice squads around the league.
Well, they just cut your guy. They just cut Jalen Graham. They just cut your dude.
They just brought him to the practice squad. Yeah, but I mean, clearly there's a pecking order here. They love Campbell over Jalen Graham.
Yeah, one good game against the Cowboys. Every other game had been absolute dog shit. But I'm sure he's turning it around.
I mean, seriously, I have no belief in him at all.
Absolute
I do have tremendous belief that he'll fail. Kyle Shanahan went on KMBR and he was asked about Malik Mustafa's status. And he said he was asked if his status was in jeopardy because of the injured calf today. He said, yeah, it is in jeopardy. Hopefully it won't be too big of a deal. But halfway through practice, his calf was bothering him, so we shut him down there.
Well, the Niners love shutting dudes down with calf injuries. That's been the story of the season.
I mean, that's a major one. If Mustafa can't go, Mustafa's been one of their best players. I mean,
you can't play Odom. The Odom signing. I know it's such a small potatoes situation, but paying George Odom $5 million so that he could be an ace special teamer and maybe
on the worst coverage unit in the league.
Right. Like he's been, and like you watch him in particular, he's been awful on special teams. So that's your ace special teamer who they've now benched irrevocably. Well, perhaps not irrevocably. We'll find out on Sunday if they play Gip over Odom. But like, you can't play him on actual defense. And then you go, well, he's really good at special teams, so he's worth his contract. And then you watch him on special teams, and he's just running right past the ball carrier every single fucking time. It's really, of all the bad contracts they handed out this past offseason, Floyd and go down the line, Floyd being probably the worst, just cost-wise. But Odom, at half of the cost of Floyd, has looked just egregious. It's looked terrible. And it didn't make any sense in the moment. Why are you paying that guy that much money? I don't want to, check his wallet here or anything, but I found it very strange in the moment, and it has aged like milk.
Well, I mean, it's like we can criticize Mustafa and Brown and their young safeties and, question them. I know there were some questions today about, how inconsistent the young safeties are, but if you think they're bad, wait until you don't have Malik Mustafa, And
at least Mustafa's bringing some juice. At least Brown can get up at the line of scrimmage and mix it up a little bit here. And, they feel like they are figuring out how to play with each other, right? Like, I think that they're giving some structure to a defense that has felt very nebulous for most of the season outside of where's Fred Warner? Like, that was the 49ers defense. Where's Fred Warner? Now that they've had some continuity at safety, albeit with young players, they were starting to get a little bit of an identity. They were starting to figure out what it was they can and can't do. And it was a pretty aggressive defense with a single high safety, whether that be Brown or most of the time Mustafa. They were starting to roll into what I think Nick Sorensen's ideal was. And to not have those two guys out on the field for the 100% of defensive snaps, this week or perhaps moving forward, is a major setback because those guys need more reps together. They're going to make mistakes, yes, but the more they play together, the more impact plays they're going to make as a duo, and the better this defense is going to look because, as I love to say, to the point where people roll their eyes, but safeties are destiny in the modern NFL. And yeah, you got young ones, but they're really promising young ones, and they were figuring out how to play together and figuring out how to play inside this defense, which again, I'm not sure if Nick Sorensen's good at this or not, but he was starting to make them look good. And I'm very curious to see who the next man up is and what that's going to make Nick Sorensen look like.
Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings are both expected to play this week, according to Kyle Shanahan. He went on KMBR and he said that. I would expect Deebo, even though I think he's actually moved around great at practice, despite the fact he's had the blue jersey. But I expect
it's those blue cleats, Larry. They keep him light on his feet.
You like the matching blue.
It's so
cleats.
weird. It rubs me the wrong. I mean, yeah, it's like a Giants hat for some guy from Chicago. It just rubs you the wrong way.
Here's one that I think is kind of interesting. Let's talk about Vita Vea for a second. What a monster he is.
He's unreal.
And
Pride of Milpitas.
Today, both Brock and Forster were asked about Vita Vea, and Kev put it into
his name is. He was somewhat
nice little montage, if you will. Here it is from today.
Is there a player in the league quite like Vita Vea in terms of size?
No, I'm trying to think of one. Big guy from Baltimore last year, Pierce, I think his name is. He was a similar player, big guy. Vita Vea is one of a kind. I remember last time we played him up here, was this last year? It was last year, 2 years ago. I don't remember which game it was. Might have been 2 years ago. They said he was sick pregame, like he wasn't going to play. We're all hopeful. I go out there and he's playing. What's that game where they kick the bag around? Hacky sack. I mean, he looks like a middle schooler playing hacky sack. He's 350 pounds kicking the ball in the air. It's unbelievable how good he is. He's really, really talented, very, very agile for such a big, gigantic man.
Yeah. He's definitely a guy that you got to know where he's at every play, every snap. He's very disruptive and a strong guy. He's been like that for however long he's been playing, man. He's always a problem, and we faced him multiple times, and he's had his moments. And so for us, it's like, how can we be smart? Both in the pass game, run game, knowing where he's at, and understand that he can change a game at any moment.
There you go. A little bit on Vita Vea, who's just a monster size-wise. By the way, out of nowhere, there was a reference to hacky sack. Have you played hacky sack? And do you know the one and only rule of hacky sack?
I don't know the latter. I have played hacky sack and then was told you need to stop doing this immediately, that you do not have the level of agility of a Vita Vea, and that that was never my foray. The one
Does anybody in the chat know the only rule of hacky sack? There's only
don't
one
harsh
rule.
the vibe.
There's only one true rule in hacky sack. Does anybody know the only rule?
You tell me,
hacky sack.
Don't play.
Does anybody? Sack. I'm waiting for this.
I don't think I don't.
Mitchell and Ness says you have to be stoned to play hacky sack.
Yeah, this crowd doesn't.
It was a high school thing. It was definitely a high school thing.
Well, that you had your little rat tail going on, and
Joe Schmo says there is no hacky sack. Larry, what does that even mean? Niner Mafia says no hands. No, of course. Well, of course you can't use your hands.
So another rule.
No. But that's just an understood. Nah. The only rule of hacky sack is you never serve to yourself.
That's a good rule of life.
Never serve to yourself.
Yeah.
Except
the problem is when you play hacky sack, Larry, and then you go home, you're always having to serve yourself because ain't no one going to have sex with you.
But it's good. Hacky sack is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. We used to play it at school, in high school. It was a good way to waste
all the
time.
Babes circle around and be like, wow.
It was an all-guys high school. Which was painful. Painful looking back. Looking back on it, it was quite painful.
You had some Deebo Samuel blue cleats to match.
Yeah. Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
I want, one of the big questions is what do you think Brock Purdy without Ayuk is going to look like going up against this defense?
Yeah.
And, that to me is a big question. It's like, what exactly are we going to get in this game from the Bucs defense? And the Bucs defense is a blitz heavy scheme by Todd Bowles. And I asked Purdy about this today, so we're going to let you hear what he had to say about it.
Yeah.
This was a pretty good answer to my question, I felt. I asked him about the Bucs defense and what stands out. The one thing about Brock is he watches a lot of film, and he'll give you some hints.
Sure as hell hope.
Yeah. No, but I mean, his observations on the film, you can tell
he has a hard time holding back when you ask him technical questions, which I appreciate.
Yeah, here he is.
What stands out to you about Todd Bowles' defense when you watch him?
I think just the pressures and all the variations of coverages they do with guys blitzing and stuff. He does a really good job with that. He always has. Guys play together and they're gritty. You don't see anyone on the tape that gives up or anything like that. Like against the Chiefs this last game, man, they brought it all the way into overtime. They played as a team really well, and so his defense is going to bring it, and we just got to be on top of our stuff and play our standard and compete for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good answer.
He lost it there at the end. He started going into the Brock cliches, but
yeah, well,
there was something interesting there for sure.
There initially was something interesting.
Yeah.
But I will say this about this Tampa defense. If you know football personnel, you know there's a lot of good players here. But they're not really getting, the numbers are not really there when you look at this team compared to their numbers. And like their names are way better than their numbers. I mean, let's just go personnel wise. You got Vita Vea, who's just the biggest guy there is, who's also athletic.
He's a freak.
So he's your nose guard. That's where you can't run in the middle. They got Kalijah Cansey and Logan Hall. They were both first-round picks, or Logan Hall, I guess, was a second-round pick.
Second-round pick,
31st overall or 33rd overall or something like that. He's a very high pick.
Yeah.
And they're not getting it done for the most part. I mean, Kalijah Cansey's been good, but Hall, not so much. Joe Tryon Shoyinka has not been consistent. Levante David
was some more
great player, but I mean, he was drafted in 2012.
He was a great player.
KJ Britt cannot cover at all, so I'm sure he'll be the conflict defender. Yaya Diaby was great at Louisville, and
I kind of like him.
Phenomenal name, and he's a good rusher with effort, but he's had a much more of a productive year last year. And then the secondary has Antoine Winfield, but the rest of these guys, and Jordan Whitehead didn't practice this week. He's hurt. Zion McCollum is rangy, but gets burnt. The other guys are fill-in guys. I mean,
you're telling me Tyreek Thunderburk isn't an impact?
Tyke Smith's not a bad player, the 3rd-round pick from Georgia.
Yeah, he's a good nickel. Yeah,
he's a good player. But I mean, they don't have a very good defense, despite the fact they've got 4 or 5 names on there. You're like, hey, I know these guys. They're going to be pretty good. Well, you know what? They're not that good.
No, they're not. I mean, the 49ers have a guy in Devondre Campbell that you go, oh, he was pretty good. And then you watch him play and you go, I should have really emphasized the was. There was a time when Devondre Campbell was awesome. There was a time when Levante David was awesome and a Super Bowl winning, absolutely. I like Winfield a lot. I like Whitehead a lot. Now, Whitehead, I'm higher on Whitehead than I think consensus, but Winfield is one of the highest paid players at his position in football. He set the market at safety. Not that there's much of a market at safety, but
one of their corners is a high PFF grade, right? McCollum.
You're telling me, because when I watch them, they look awful. They really look awful. And it's this weird balance of they don't have anyone who can get to the quarterback outside of Vita Vea. And every defense or every offensive line is double teaming him, which he's still beating them. But, it's 2 men on 1. It's going to take a while to get back to the quarterback. So they don't have anyone who can win. And so Todd Bowles is out here and he's like, I guess we just have to blitz a lot. But then you put your corners who all suck in one-on-one coverage on the outside. And he's trying to do some of the stuff that Flores does in Minnesota where you're mixing up palms and quarters coverage. And you can do that when you have veteran players in the secondary who might not have the same level of foot speed and athleticism, but they're smart and they can read a play. These guys actually do have a decent amount of athleticism. They just don't know what's happening out there. And now they're being put in a system that is overly complicated for them. And if it's not overly complicated, it's pretty straightforward and they can't win one-on-one. So to bring it back to Brock Purdy, he better have a good one. I don't care who's at wide receiver. I've watched Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing play. Those 2 guys can play. Those 2 guys can give you yards. You have Juwan Jennings. You should have a Deebo Samuel, even though I think Deebo looks slow as hell. You have a George Kittle. You get a Christian McCaffrey back. You should be able to move the ball through the air on this team at will. And if you can't do that, that's a big issue. So I'm expecting really, really good things from Brock Purdy in this game because anything less would be concerning.
Give me a player that you think who has not necessarily been great in the first half that you think is going to be very good in the second half?
It's a good question.
Outside of guys who didn't play, you can't go with McCaffrey.
Can't really go with Cowing there either because he hasn't really played.
Well, you could go with Cowing. You go with Cowing. I'm just saying, don't go with somebody who literally has not played.
Could not play. Yeah, well, I'll go with Cowing. I think that Cowing has I think he has a real opportunity to find a niche on this team that could be extremely valuable. Because I have serious questions about Juwan Jennings. Also, Juwan Jennings might slide to X a lot more, right? You might see Pearsall and Jennings mixing it up, and then you can bring in Cowing as a speed out guy on third downs, second downs. I think he could have a really nice role. Every time he's been on the field, he's given them some pop, and I'm really interested to see more of it. Much like with Garendo, right? And I think he's already shown what he can do. And there's certainly more left to show, but there's something there. You want to explore it. That's what I wrote about Sam Ekwonu in training camp. There's something there. There's something there. They'd be fools not to explore it. And then they did the foolish thing and they cut him. And here he is now as the second most important defensive end on this team. There's something there with Cowing that I think that we get to see more and more and more of. And maybe that has to do with some injuries beyond what they've already taken. Maybe that has to do with some tweaks in personnel. But the second half for a rookie with that kind of talent, this should be when he really comes onto the scene. So I'm going to go with Cowing.
I like the thinking. I'm going to go speed as well, but I'm going to go Garendo. I can't believe I'm saying that because I was the one saying how raw he was, and he is really raw.
Yeah.
But there are certain formations when you can get a defense to put 5 or 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and you don't have all those second level defenders in the box.
That's right.
And then it's just a matter of you run the stretch play, and he just makes the right cut. And it's like, you know what? He's going to run into a wall. Yeah. He's going to run into a wall. He's going to run into a wall. He's going to slip down. He's going to run into a wall. And then he's going to go the distance.
That's right.
So, I mean, it's like.
He's an all or nothing running back. He's very reminiscent of Raheem Mostert.
Carries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Get him the 6 carries. Live with the 4 TFLs.
Yeah.
And get a couple touchdowns out of it. I mean,
you don't want to look at his rushing.
He's special, man. What he has is not. You can't find it. You can't buy it. There's a reason that people are super impressed by guys who can run that well. He's already proven that he can learn and adapt and improve. I think Garendo is a secret weapon. I think Garendo has to be utilized. He's too big, too fast. You just tell him, hold on to that football and see if you can take one to the house.
What happens if that guy develops some feel, right?
I know.
What happens if he figures out what the hell he's doing?
Or like a play that he maybe you can kind of tell the angles and the feel is just not there. But if you can get him in a couple of plays and run him in practice enough times where he just feels like, hey, you know what? If I can just get to this point and hit it hard, I can bust this one. I'm telling you, I mean, he could be their difference. I mean, they're going to need chunk yardage plays from somebody without Ayuk.
I'm with you. I think it'll be more in the passing game. I'd be remiss not to bring up that I think Pearsall is going to look like the truth in the second half. I think he's going to look great. I think the opportunity's there. I think that the offensive game plan and the defensive tactics are going to align just right for him. And I think that Pearsall could be a real impact player down the stretch. It's just not as sexy a pick because he's already, he was really good against Dallas and he showed flashes against Kansas City when you watch the All-22. So there's something that's already sort of developed there. Cowing hasn't even gotten a rep yet, a serious rep yet. And I think the second you give him a serious rep, you're going to have a hard time not giving him the next one and the next one and the next one. But I'm with you 100% on Garendo. I just think back to how the coaches look at those players during training camp and the giddiness that the running backs coaches had watching Garendo put a foot in the ground and go. They're like, we'll figure this one out. Like, we will figure out a way to make this guy work as an NFL running back because of what you said. You cannot create that kind of talent. And he does have exactly what the Niners want in the outside zone running system, which is put a foot in the ground, see the hole, attack the hole as fast as you can. If he can see the hole and figure out how to attack it, it's over. You can't stop him. You can't play cut. You're going to have to put too high, not to stop the passing game, but to stop the running game with Isaac Guerrero. That's how you'll have to defend it.
He is a game breaker. So give him a chance to break the game open by giving him a half dozen touches. And then, Cowing, I think, could be interesting as well. Pearsall, what I'd love to see from Pearsall is just one or two routes that are anticipation throws where he knows where he's going, Brock knows where he's going, the defense doesn't know where he's going. And if they could work on a couple of timing routes.
Oh, Larry.
The only thing that's bothered me so far about Pearsall is for a guy who's going to run timing routes in the middle of the field. I've already seen him on 3 different occasions get his head turned late. It's like shit happens fast in the NFL.
Yeah.
You get your head turned quicker. I mean, he's not ready to catch the ball, when as fast as he needs to be. And to me, that's noticeable. And then, like, you can't depend on a guy who's not looking at the quarterback. So he's got to work on his timing. And what we really need to see from Purdy to Pearsall is an unstoppable 2 or 3 plays that can be utilized on 3rd and 7.
Mm-hmm.
If you can come up with a couple of unstoppable stop routes, slants, pick to the flat, whatever it's going to be, but the anticipatory throw that Purdy can just put on, he just absolutely can put it where he wants, and he knows without a doubt that Pearsall is going to be in that spot. That's what it's all about.
You say that legitimately. Cowing, when you watch his tape at Arizona, it was like nothing but speed outs. He might be the guy. It might be that. If you're looking for that, I think it's a very good thing to be looking for. Have I got a player for you? Where's number 19? It's Jacob Cowing. A little confusing from last year, but that might be the guy. That dude can run a speed out as well as anybody in the league. I don't know if he can do anything else, but that dude can run a speed out. So if you need a speed out, I got a guy.
Shades by Chardal says Guerrero has zero vision just like Krug. Stop squinting, Krug.
He's got to get some shades. That's what he needs.
Squinting? Am I squinting? There was a time I was not seeing well, but I am seeing very, very well. Adrian Padilla. Larry, who's your favorite player in the league outside of the 49ers? That's a good question.
I can give you my favorite player in the league outside of the 49ers. Creed Humphrey, center for the Kansas City Chiefs.
What? Stop it.
Yes.
Your favorite player is a fucking center?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that dude's unbelievable.
You can never call people sick again. If your favorite player is a center.
I've never once implied that I am not sicker than everybody else.
They can be sick
too. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go with he's a Niner. I'm gonna go with Tabor Pepper. I'm gonna go long snapper. If
you watch the Jaguars punter, that guy's pretty sick too.
His index finger's pressure point on the spin.
Yeah, speaking of fingers, the thing with Creed Humphrey is he has so many rings on his fingers. It's
you
so
see
difficult.
the way I snap the. All right, no.
I'm sorry that some of us are more sophisticated and can appreciate good offensive line play.
Who is my favorite player? Okay, I'll give you a couple that are my favorites. I love Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for the Browns. He's just the fastest, most instinctive linebacker. He's just a modern day linebacker. He reminds me of Derek Brooks, the former Hall of Famer. He's just so fast. Did you see Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah last year in the playoff game?
Yes, he's unbelievable.
He is awesome. So yeah, that's my guy, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Who else though?
Creed Humphrey's weird.
Well, I mean, it's a center.
Yeah, you guys should watch center play more. That dude's unbelievable.
Okay, so that's okay. I like Creed Humphrey too, and I can appreciate a good center. Somebody said Derwin James.
I do love Derwin James, but it just hasn't been the same since the first 2 seasons.
I'll tell you a player that I really love, and I hate him because he's on the Seahawks. But I love Devin Witherspoon.
Oh, that's a good player. That's Tyler Lockett's high on my list as well. That guy just gets it done.
The corner for the Seahawks, Devin Witherspoon from Illinois.
He's so good. Crazy,
he's just
long
so
arms.
Physical, and he's a really good player. Really good
player. Seahawks actually have some pretty badass players.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Who else? Is there anybody? Oh, I'll tell you one that I just absolutely love. I love Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, you see how now I'm weird though.
But I mean, we're talking about the most dominant guard of his era. I mean, he is the John Hanna, the Mike Munchak.
I'm with you. Future Hall of Famer. He's unbelievable.
Quentin Nelson might be one of the greatest offensive linemen that's ever played the game.
I think that's a fair thing to say. I think Quentin Nelson.
I'm giving you a hard time on Creed Humphrey. I like Creed Humphrey.
I think Creed Humphrey. But I legitimately think Creed Humphrey is at that caliber.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Allegretti played well for them last year in the Super Bowl, and that's my guy. That's my boy.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Who else do I? I'll tell you who I love this year. I love watching Jaden Daniels this year.
Oh yeah, he's unreal.
Jaden Daniels. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
It wasn't like, it's one of those things where we try to be so like intellectual and like hear all these terms and stuff. My Jaden Daniels scouting was I watched him play at LSU last year, and none of the rules apply to him. It doesn't matter. It's
terrific.
He's transcendent. Yeah, he's unreal.
He's great. He's just a great player. He
hope
he sees it. He's got great accuracy. He's athletic. He's
athletic,
but he's too skinny.
If he
gets hit, he's going to get rocked. I mean, if he gets rocked, that's it. But
Devontae
so
Smith
accurate.
is skinny as hell, and all he does is catch touchdowns and 20-yard gains. He's a great player.
He's great.
Maybe it just doesn't matter anymore. Maybe it just doesn't matter. I love watching TJ Watt. Yeah.
TJ Watt, Miles Garrett, though, is just, what is going on there? I mean, that guy's 280, and he's one of the most dominating physical players I've ever seen in my life.
The problem is when Miles Garrett doesn't have a good rep, it doesn't look right. Like, you're like, what's the matter? Is he injured? Like, he should win so consistent. And when he does, he wins so emphatically that when he doesn't win, it almost feels like something bad has happened. It's kind of a bummer to watch because he looks like a creative player. He looks like if LeBron was a football player. He's unreal.
I'll say this: the guy that I think is the best going is Jamar Chase. He had 11 catches tonight for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah. He had a 70-yard catch. He was targeted 17 times. Jamar Chase is awesome, man. Jamar Chase is freaking. I was talking to Brandon Allen one day about Jamar Chase, and he's just like, yeah, dude, the guy's incredible. He's like, the thing that really stands out about Jamar, and I'm like, I wasn't sure what he was going to say because he's so versatile, but he's like, it's his strength. He's like, he's got crazy strength. You always know, like in those 50-50 balls, he's going to come away with it because he's just strong.
I will toot my own horn here. One of my big draft crush this past year was Tyrone Tracy. I wanted the Niners to get Tyrone Tracy Jr.
New York Giants has been unbelievable.
He's been a joy to watch on the most unenjoyable team to watch in football. He's been great.
I'll give you another one. I'll give you another one that I love, but I hated him last year.
Remembering some guys' segments of current players, by the way.
Kyle Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton. He got injured tonight, sadly.
Kyle Hamilton is just awesome.
He is great.
That guy's big and rangy and fast. And I kind of like some of the Notre Dame guys. I've noticed. I like some of the JOK. I like Kyle Hamilton. I love
heavier. Yeah,
Notre Dame's got a corner this year that I really like. I think his name's Clark something.
I haven't watched a lot of Notre Dame this year.
They've got Notre Dame's defense this year and Notre Dame's secondary specifically. Okay. Oh my God. These guys, I mean,
I'll have to toss on the Northern Illinois film and see what that was all about.
They're going to be heard from in the playoffs. I'm telling you, Notre Dame's going to be heard from in the playoffs. Their defense of secondary is no joke. I mean, they can play man and lock you up.
That's awesome because most teams are just playing that drop quarter shit, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
So.
Those are the ones. Those are the ones that I like the most. I really like watching Tyreek a little bit.
Saquon Barkley, impossible not to enjoy.
I'll give you another one. I love
Barkley.
Jordan Mailata for the Eagles.
Great call.
He is just a freaking house.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a
that
really good
guy's
one.
just a monster.
I like watching Joe Alt with the Chargers.
I haven't seen a lot of the Chargers with Alt this year.
Yeah, and he got injured.
6'8" guy.
Yeah, he's got ballerina feet, but he stays anchored. It's really enjoyable. These are the kind of things that I key in on.
That's the one thing about the NFL that makes it so great is that even the bad teams have great players.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and
yet the Niners won't trade for any of them.
I'll tell you the guy that I think is just unfreaking believably great. And this is why the Lions are so scary. He got ejected last week, and it didn't matter. Brian Branch.
Great.
Brian Branch from the Lions is just one of the greatest DBs going right now. I mean, that guy just makes every great play.
Man, you go down the line, Penei Sewell is just unbelievable. Now, by the way, we've made our offensive line. We have our offensive line, so I'm feeling good about that. We've created our super team of offensive line. I'm on Ross St. Brown. I love watching David Montgomery run. Oh,
yeah.
Everybody but
I love Gibbs. I love Jameer. Jameer's one of my favorites.
Let's read some super chats, Larry.
All right, let's do it. Sacred Intuition says, Larry, what do you think about Sorensen so far?
That's a great question.
I'm not that impressed. I mean, I think overall, it's not like I don't like the scheme or anything, or he's doing anything that's really offensive. It's just that when I ask him questions, I don't really feel like there's anything that's truly informed about his decision. He doesn't seem like he ever gives me information. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that. It's like he's always kind of telling me something I already know. Like, what do you like about Campbell? Well, he's the veteran, and he's seen a lot and been there,
but you don't get the sense that he's just glossing over it. Like, you don't get the sense that he's like, I'll say this as to not actually
he's
say
not
anything
invasive or anything. He's just kind of, I don't know. I don't love what I'm seeing from the defense on all three levels. I don't think the coverage is that tight. I don't think the rush is that good. I don't see a lot of intimidating hits. They've lost their swagger on defense. I just don't see a lot of confidence on defense. So, so I guess I don't dislike Sorensen, but I'm not that impressed. Joseph Ernberg, can I get a Larry Krueger signed jersey? Yeah, that'd be great.
What number would that be?
00. Frank Tom Ocean, member for 8 months. Thanks, Frank. He says, Larry, only 29 videos today. You're freaking lazy. LOL. Thanks for the great content for us Niner fans. Shout out to Kev for all his hard work as well. Thanks.
It's all Kev. This is an AI, Larry.
Anthony M says, Dieter, as a former Alamedian, is that a correct phrase?
Plays for me.
Alamedian. As a former Alamedian, have you tried New York pizza over on Park Street yet? Best fat slices I've ever had.
New York pizza on Park Street. Guess not. I think I know which one it is. It's next to the nasty Chinese buffet. I might have to make a commitment to get on.
That is probably not the name of it, right? The nasty Chinese buffet.
No, it's like the Genghis Khan Chinese buffet.
That would be so awesome if it was called the nasty.
That would be in advertising, right?
Awesome.
You go in.
They got tremendous attitude there.
This is one of the things. So
it's nasty.
I noticed. Yeah, they used to have in Alameda County. They used to have the health grade, and it was like A through F, right? It was the letter grading system, and they had a C, and it was like the only time I had ever seen a C ever. And I'm like, wow, and they have to just put that in the window. And then it became a pass-fail situation, but you can't unsee the C layer. So I've avoided the Chinese buffet, and frankly, kind of anything on that block to this point. But Anthony M has made a recommendation, throwing $5 into the pot. I will go and certainly try New York pizza over on Park Street. You got Marley G's, you got the Star. I will hunt down said New York pizza over on Park Street, get a slice, and report back.
I don't like to go to restaurants that have not been recommended.
That's a great policy. My policy on the road is I search cash only for good bars. That's how I play it.
You like cash only?
Yes, I want dive bars. I seek dive bars. I crave the dive bar.
Cash only. We want no digital.
And by the way, if I ever had a bar, I would call it cash only, and I would take cards. But that's the kind of clientele I'm looking for.
When we were in Vegas, we saw a strip club called The Office.
Yes, yes. There was a great bar in Austin. I presume it's gone, called The Library. That was a good one. I got really drunk at the library. The expense reports never knew it.
It's a great. You got a receipt from The Office.
Yeah.
Claw Daddy Vending says LK spot on Guerrero take, foster harness, and utilize that type of speed. Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner will get the most out of a young guy like that.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to feature Guerrero, man. You got to see Guerrero pop a few. I mean, think about it this way: he's a running back that once he gets to the second level, he's got a great chance to take it to the house.
Did you
all you're really trying to do is get him? All you're really trying to do is get this running back schemed past the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And there are certain, I'm telling you, I can just looking at certain formations and certain defensive alignments, you can see when the big plays are coming.
Mm-hmm.
When they've got, 4 guys on the line of scrimmage and another 3 linebackers sitting in the box, and you're looking at 7 in the box, and there's the safety right off the edge. You're like, there's no way. There's no way in hell Guerendo's going to pick and slide his way through all these bodies.
Right.
But when they can get, put that extra guy on the line of scrimmage, when you seem like you can stretch the defense out horizontally, and then just pop him through one of the early, one of the inside gaps.
Right.
He gets to that second level, and now, I mean, you can see it. Guys who are 3 steps away, if you're not as fast as this guy, that's too far away. And guys are 3 steps away on that second level all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can bust this guy into the secondary. And once he's in the secondary, there's no DB around that wants any part of that.
Not with that
5 steps, 6 steps, Guerrero with 4.3 speed at 225. No way. I've yet to see anybody even put a finger on him when he gets into the secondary. I mean,
he has to slide to take himself out.
I mean, he is just all he's got to remember is 2 hands on the ball.
Yep.
I don't care if he runs up the butt of his lineman. I don't care if he can't read a block. I don't care. He's fast enough. We can worry about that. I'll take the negative plays. I'm factoring in negative plays with him. You have no negative plays with Elijah Mitchell, but he can't take it to the house. You have plenty of negative plays with Guerrero, but he can take any individual carry to the house, and that's why you got him.
Larry wants nothing but walks and strikeouts and home runs. That's what he's looking for in a running back.
You know what? There's no part in the box score that says, oh, you know what happened here? Why did the Niners lose? Oh, they had 4 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't against them. No, that's not. No, that means it's not good. But you know what? I'll take a negative play if you can go 80 yards in your next carry.
I'm with you.
And that's kind of what they got there. Claw Daddy Vending says, Dieter, the only problem with Garrett is that he's not on the 49ers. I'm still crying over not acquiring Garrett for a first and a third. Love your guys' live videos.
That was Larry's suggestion for first and a third. I was never actually that big on the Niners getting Garrett. I was, if you're going to spend a first and a third, go get an elite defensive tackle. That was my concern. Would have been fun. I wouldn't have knocked it, but Niners can't be giving up first and thirds. They can't be giving up either of those. Not
last question, and it's a Warrior question.
Yeah.
The Warriors are top 10 in turnovers this year, not turning it over. Last year they were bottom 10.
Yeah.
How have they done it?
They're moving the ball.
How have they gone from a team that turned it over like, every game they turned it over a lot? They could turn it over as much as they're averaging now. They could turn it over that many times in a quarter in the last few years. And now, for whatever reason, they are not turning it over. They're still playing fast. They're still sharing the basketball. They're getting out and they're running. They're getting points in transition. They're playing killer defense.
Yep.
But somehow they've found a way to still have body movement and ball movement and play fast, and they're not turning it over. And by the way, you can sit there and tell me, Krug, you don't know crap about basketball. But the only take I gave you before the season was that Buddy Hield was going to be freaking great with the Warriors. Way, I said it 5 times. He'll be way, way better with the Warriors than he ever was with Sacramento. All my Kings fans were like, just wait, you just wait. Buddy Hield looks phenomenal. I think it's not too early to say that.
He looks he absolutely looks phenomenal right now. A little bit of concern. Boston was attacking him on defense late in that game, as you'd expect. But the quick release in this system is fantastic. If I had to chalk it up to one thing in honesty, it's that they've been playing a bunch of shitty teams up until they played Boston. So I think that's probably the reason why. But if we were to extrapolate out what we're seeing from the Warriors and give that credit, and I don't think it's unfounded, it's that everybody on this team effectively knows their role and that role inside this offense, which is an impressive bit of coaching from Steve Kerr and his staff, which has been, with Terry Stotts and Jerry Stackhouse, been really, really good. You don't see a lot of guys trying to create off the dribble in this offense. That's where you get in trouble. When you dribble into crashing double teams, dribble into rotations on defense, and now you're passing the ball where a passing lane doesn't exist. They're doing a lot more of their offense from the high post, not necessarily in the high post, but just, above the arc, and a lot of dribble handoffs, a lot of back cuts. It's not as it's a little bit more simplified than in prior years, but it can be, and that's more effective because, again, you have total buy-in from everybody. And the fact of the matter is they were not turning the ball over at a high rate. This would have been the one where it probably would have gone. Boston's an unbelievable defensive team, particularly on the perimeter, and particularly with their point guards, or in the case, just 2 guards with Drew Holiday and Derek White, and Pritchard is feisty, if nothing else. The Warriors went into that game, they had 1 point guard, Steph Curry. Podziemski's on the bench, Melton's on the bench. They're both out with sickness or injury. So you had Slow-Mo and Draymond and Wiggins and Kuminga bringing the ball up the court for the second unit, and they still weren't turning the ball over. That is a understanding of where players are on the floor, understanding and a commitment to staying within yourself as a role player, and the system really working, because far too often there was freelancing and ego in the game last year. Guys trying to do too much, not accepting. Let me just call it out. Klay Thompson was in the wrong place, and that's when Draymond throws it into the second row of coaches on the other team because someone was supposed to be there and they weren't. And Draymond's trying to create off they were forcing it. And when you're not forcing it, and when you're not playing good teams, should be noted again, up until this week, you can really play some crisp, entertaining basketball on the offensive end. They got some dudes. I don't know how long the party rolls. I mean, Cleveland's going to be a motherfucker tomorrow night, and then they get OKC on Sunday night. I mean, they're going to get the 3 best teams in the NBA back to back to back, but impossible not to buy into the Warriors as something interesting after what they did to Boston. And if nothing else, they're refreshing to watch because they play hard. They play hard, and they play energetic, and they play aesthetically pleasing basketball. God, if you could sign me up for 30 teams in the NBA to do that, I'd be all in on the NBA every night. But instead, we talk about football.
Well, they play defense. I mean, that's the thing. They play really, really hawking defense right now. Yeah. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to all of you guys. Thanks to Better. Once again, we put together a lineup earlier tonight using Better. Download the app below. Make sure you use that promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does, I should say, is automatically entered to win a signed Fred Warner jersey. We'll announce the winner at the end of November. Thanks to all of you guys for weighing in. Dieter, when are you next on the leader? When are we going to catch you on the radio?
Oh, I'm on the leader next week at some point. Dieter and Hutch tomorrow. We'll be doing a 49ers Bucks preview, and then we'll be live after the game. I'm on the Land Your Bets podcast tomorrow as well, doing some player props and anytime touchdowns as well. Always have a fun time doing that. So just follow my YouTube page. It's all pushed out from there.
Join me tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'll be at Levi Stadium. I'll do a live stream of Wake Up tomorrow with Damon Bruce at 10:45. Chase Senior will be in the house.
Who's waking up at 10:45?
At what, 10:45 in the morning?
That seems late for Wake Up.
No, Wake Up's at 9.
Okay.
Wake Up's at 9.
Gotcha.
9 at Wake Up, and then that's in Santa Clara, by the way. Since I'm in Walnut Creek, it's going to take me. I'm going to have to get up early to get there.
You'll be well woken up.
And then I've got 10:45 Chase Senior tomorrow. I've got Niners Nightly tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And we're going to talk to a guy from Fox in Tampa about the Buccaneers. Saturday morning, I'll be streaming at 8:30 a.m. with Frank Red. Nice. And then at 10 a.m., you'll hear me with 49ers Forecast on the radio. And Jordan Elliott is going to join me from NBC Sports Bay Area. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks to Dieter. Thanks to all of you guys. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man